Hi, this is Teresa Jackson. Today I'm going to talk about the export options in Photoshop CC, specifically how to export a JPEG image. I'm working in Photoshop CC 2015.5. The Export As panel, which I'm going to demonstrate, was introduced a little over a year ago, and it's already changed significantly since its introduction. I expect that the Export As panel will continue to evolve. Save for Web has been around forever and it can still be found within Photoshop CC, but it's been moved and renamed to Save for Web Legacy. I have opened a full resolution 16-bit Photoshop image. It's in the Pro Photo color space and has a handful of layers. I want to create an 8-bit flattened JPEG image in the sRGB color space at a reduced resolution so that I can share it through email or post it online. And exporting is the best way to accomplish this from Photoshop. And you might be asking why that is. Because with the Save dialog, you could do a Save As and choose JPEG. Let's take a look at what the Save As options are. I'm going to go up to File, Save As. And from here I can go down to Format and choose JPEG. And if I save a JPEG with this method, it will be a flattened image, so all these layers will go away, and it will be 8-bit. But I can't change the size, so the resolution will be the same as my original Photoshop file. And I also can't change the color space. It's only allowing me to embed the profile for Pro Photo, which is the current color space of this image. I'm going to cancel out of this, and then let's take a look at the options for export. So go up to File, Export, and then we see there's several options over here under Export. For this, I'm just going to focus on two of them, Export As and Save for Web. These are the only two options you have here right now to save a JPEG. So let's start by taking a look at the old way, the way that's been around forever, Save for Web. I've got a bit of a confession here. I've been using the Save for Web function to create JPEGs for a very long time. I'm so dependent on keyboard shortcuts that it was months before I even discovered that Photoshop's export options had changed. Legacy Save for Web still works with the same keyboard shortcut it always has, which is Shift-Option-Command-S on a Mac or Shift-Alt-Control-S for a PC. There's more options in this panel here than you really need to just export a simple JPEG, so I'm going to focus on the ones you need to know. Start by making sure that you have chosen the correct file format here in this box, JPEG. And then you can adjust the quality of the JPEG. I usually use 80. That seems to be good for most applications. Down here is where you can convert this to the sRGB profile. And up here is where you could embed that color profile in the JPEG that's created. You can also include your copyright metadata if that's part of your workflow. I definitely recommend that you choose this option. Now down here in the bottom corner is where we can change the size. So you can see the original size of this Photoshop file is 3,821 pixels wide. I'm going to make it say 1,200 pixels wide. And then I'll click Save button, and that'll bring up a dialog where I can choose where to save it. So I'm going to go ahead and put an extension on this so we know this one came from the Save for Web method. And then I'll say Save. So let's jump back to the desktop here. So that created a JPEG image from the Photoshop file that's only 319 kilobytes large. Let's do a space bar to get a preview of it. So this is an image now that I can email to somebody or upload to a website somewhere. So now let's take a look at the newer Export As panel. So I'm going to go to File, Export, Export As. Now we'll see this panel's a lot cleaner than the Save for Web. It has a lot less options, which is actually probably easier for exporting JPEGs. Let's start on the right hand side here. At the top we want to make sure that we have the right format, JPEG. Just for consistency's sake, I'll change the quality to 80. tab down through that. Now we have image size. I'm going to put in 1200 for the width, and it's rounding it down to 1199 from 1200. If I click on this little information, it'll tell me that the image dimensions cannot be scaled exactly, and that's why it's doing that, which is fine. It's close enough. But the really interesting thing here that we can't do for Save for Web is we can create a canvas size that's different than the image size. So I'm going to take my image size even down further. Let's take it down to 1000, and let's set the canvas size to 1200. Let's set it to 1200 by 800. Well, it didn't take the 1200. Let's try that again. Well, 12. Then I'll hit Tab to apply that. Let's bump this up here in the preview, and you'll see that this would allow me to export a JPEG with a white border on it. So that's a feature that you can't do from Save for Web that you can do from Export As. Your metadata can be embedded. Again, copyright and contact information. I recommend you do that. And then here you can convert to sRGB and embed that color space. So this is a much cleaner interface than the Save for Web. All the stuff you really need in one place. And then the bonus here on the left-hand side is that with one export, you could create multiple sizes. So our one-time size is the scale that we set over here. If we click the plus, we could have a second JPEG that's exported at half of that size. Now, web developers use this a lot because they create different image sizes for buttons and things like that. But if you're just creating a JPEG of your photo to upload to social media, you're probably not going to need this feature. I'm going to go ahead and hit the trash can to delete that, and then say Export All. The other thing with the Export As I find is that it exports much, much faster than Save for Web. So I'll click the export button here, and we'll switch back to the desktop. And here's the image that we created from the Export As. The bottom line here is that either one of these, Save for Web or Export As, will work just fine right now for the purposes of creating an image JPEG. Eventually, though, I expect the Save for Web function to disappear completely. So if you've been using it forever like me, it might be a good idea to get familiar with the new Export As.